Welcome back to some more DBD news. My name is Wolfyowns, and we have a lot to talk about today. Wait, you hear that? You hear that? Oh no! Oh no, it's happening! Quick, grab your parents' credit cards, quick! It's happening! Yes, it is happening, everybody. We have a new chapter coming out, which means a new killer, a new survivor, and possibly a new map, which is very awesome. If you haven't noticed by the title of this video, or by my very silly, silly intro, we do have new stuff coming. But before I jump into it, let's let the devs talk about it first.
Emblems.
Yes.
The emblems are coming, everybody knows that. We talked about the PTB for the emblems, the public test build that would be put out to people to test those functionalities and give us feedback on. At this time, the PTB will not happen until we have released the next chapter. Which does mean that there is a next chapter.
There is a next chapter.
It is coming. And this is probably the chunky bit that we will be talking about today. So we wanted to do the emblems PTB before, but because of some problems of whatever, organizational pipeline kind of thing.
Well, and there's changes that we've done recently that we wanted to test and make sure we're ready before they get included in that test build for you guys.
Oh baby, I cannot wait. This is awesome. So they do have a new chapter coming out with a new killer, a new survivor, and a new map. Cannot wait for that. It is going to be awesome. The PTB sadly is going to get held off until the new chapter comes out, which I can understand. I'm really looking forward to the PTB2. That's going to be great. I really hope everyone tries their best, but make sure you do save up 1,000,000 blood points for when that new killer and survivor comes out so you can instantly level them to a very high level really fast. That's all the information that we have right now on the new chapter that's coming out, but we do have the two newest perks, one for the killer and one for the survivor. First, we're going to look over the killer one, then we're going to go over the survivor one.
I want to show the killer perk. Do you have the icon for this? You've seen that icon. You've
Maybe.
Made that icon. That's a bit small. Can you make it flutter? Okay. So the no, it's not fluttering. No, that's you fluttering. That's not helping. Okay, so this one is called the Hangman's Trick. So that perk, Hangman's Trick, what it does is it's modifications to the hook. You can take it off. It's interesting, but it's not as gorgeous as this. Hooks destroyed by sabotage or sacrifices repair after 30, 20, or 10 seconds. And you gain a notification when someone starts sabotaging the hooks. That means that even the hooks that you sacrificed people on will come back. That's gonna be a bit of a crazy one, I think. And I expect that it's gonna become part of,
So that is the first newest perk for the newest killer. It is Hangman's Trick. This perk allows your hooks to come back faster when they are destroyed by Sabo, and it allows hooks that you have sacrificed survivors on to come back as well. I don't really see this perk being that good due to the fact that you're not really having a hard time finding hooks to kill survivors on, and nobody really uses Sabo anymore. This would be really good if they buff Sabo, but I don't see that happening right away. And also, Matthew couldn't even find a good example for this perk to be good in.
And I expect that it's gonna become part of,
Oh, Matthew, oh. Give him a hand, guys. Give him a hand. That was number one material. Great example. Great example. I cannot wait to use that perk with that build. It's going to be so awesome. Matthew, I love you. I love your game, but you couldn't even think of a good way to use that perk yourself. I don't see this perk being good unless they buff Saboteur. You're going to have to buff Saboteur for this perk to be any good. Now, moving on to the newest perk for Survivor. Let's let the devs talk about that, and we'll talk about it after.
I want to talk about a perk for our Survivor for the next chapter. But I cannot show you the icon because
spoilers.
There would be information in there that I don't want you to have. I do actually. I do want you to have that information, but I'm not allowed. The perk is called Tenacity, and it says, there's nothing stopping you. Your ferocious tenacity in dire situation allows you to crawl 30, 40, 50% faster and recover at the same time. I played with that and I like it, and it's an obvious good mix with Unbreakable. But yeah, no, it does change a few things.
Ooh, so that is a pretty nice perk. I actually like this perk, but I don't honestly see it being that good either. Yes, you are able to crawl faster and recover while crawling, which is really, really nice. But he talked about comboing it with Unbreakable. I don't fully agree with this idea due to the fact that Unbreakable is a one-time use. This would be amazing, and I mean amazing, to use with no mither. Think about it. You can crawl faster, and you can recover while crawling. It would make no mither amazing. It would make no mither an amazing build. The problem is, a killer's never going to leave you down while you have no mither. He's going to kill you. In order for this to actually work with no mither, you'd have to change no mither. Make it to where the killer can't see that you have no mither. Make it to where only the survivors can see it. And also, you would have to make it to where you start out at full health, but once you're injured, you can never go back to full health. It's that simple. Boom! Done! Easy. Just like that. And it'd be a really good build. It would be. Anyways, moving on to the next part of the news, we're going to look at the world map and see how many people play Survivor compared to Killer.
Essentially, you did a little bit of digging into what's the proportion of countries where people play more as Killer or more as Survivor.
Right.
The important thing to know about this is that it is completely and utterly irrelevant, and the conclusions that we take from this should not matter to anybody in any way.
This is just for fun.
First of all, the geolocalization of people is an approximation in certain cases, because you can set it to whatever you want in Steam. And VPNs do exist. And there's also the case, like for instance, I think that in his table, any countries with 10 or fewer players is not in there. Obviously, it's not relevant.
But 11.
And it's a proportion, but that's it. So some countries have 53 players.
Yeah.
And so, you know. Anyway, you can show the first one, which essentially says, okay, so at least 50% of matches are played as a killer. And at the bottom, you have the actual proportion. So the countries that are darker red have up to that proportion of players that play more killer matches than Survivor. And the countries which are yellow or white have fewer players who play as killer all the time. So the next slide actually has a few pointers for specific places. There you go. I was expecting Canada to be one of the nicer countries, just because it's, you know, it's cliche.
I think we're nice, but with like a tiny core of meanness.
But there is also the frustration. We get tense a little bit. France is surprisingly gentle. So we have Myanmar, which is the angriest country we see in there, and Tunisia.
Yeah.
And then we have Malaysia. It's probably the nicest place.
Bangladesh.
Oh yeah, Bangladesh is actually full of very, very nice players. So there you go. Extremely interesting graphic that serves no purpose whatsoever today.
But it's kind of fun.
Well, so Myanmar 30%, we don't know why. And also, we don't, that table does not tell you how many players we have there.
Nope.
Which is probably not that big.
Nope.
So the most of the African countries actually do not have more than 10 players. I know we have a few sales in there, but it's ridiculously small numbers.
So this really isn't anything important whatsoever, but I did want to have it in here because I really think things like this is really neat. I really like things like this. I think it's pretty cool because you get to see more of what's going on behind the scenes, and you get to find out more about what the team's doing or what they can show us, which I think is pretty cool. I actually like stuff like this. We get to see more of what's going on, and I just think that's really cool. Also in the news, the devs have actually nerfed a perk and did not tell us about it. The devs basically nerfed Ace in the Hole. If you're wondering when Ace in the Hole was nerfed, it was nerfed during the Blood Web changes. Now, basically, Ace in the Hole started acting differently after the Blood Web changes, and you can no longer get ultra rare add-ons from chest. The devs themselves have even confirmed this to be true. Let's listen in.
Since the Blood Web Cube, you cannot get specific add-ons anymore from chests by using the perk Ace in the Hole. That is correct. Ultra rares do not drop in chests anymore. They are for the Blood Web only. Would it be possible to change this perk so you can get ultra rare add-ons from chest except brand new part? What might happen is that some add-ons might get their rarity lowered, so that they might drop in chests.
Right, exactly.
Instead of saying, okay, some ultra rare may drop in chests, but others won't. The idea being that ultra rare, Thomas is dealing with the rarity of everything and the economy of the whole game, and ultra rares being in the Blood Web only is critical to his sanity.
I don't really have a whole lot to say about this other than that, come on devs, come on devs. Ace was already one of the worst survivors in the game because he was all about luck. Now he's even worse. He still sucks. Basically, Ace just lost some of his luck because he can no longer get ultra add-ons from chest. Which, I guess you could say, Ace is becoming pretty unlucky. Well, oh well. Sucks for Ace, right? Moving on to the next part of the dev stream, we are going to talk about the mist. Recently, they have changed the in-game mist, and they changed the offerings, and they've tinkered with the mist a little bit, but now they are planning to tinker with the mist even more. They aren't happy with it.
So we did some changes on the way the mist is rendered. You probably all noticed it. The changes were actually, they came from us optimizing the game, and it's purely on the trying to make sure FPS goes up for all consoles and everything, and it had an effect on the gameplay. And so right now we're dealing with that after effect, and we're saying we're not exactly happy. I mean, it's not bad, but we're not exactly happy with the way the fog is going, the mist is behaving right now. So we're going to change it again, and hopefully we'll make it that it's even more optimized and efficient, so that it takes less of a toll on the frame rate. There we go. So yes, it is not the final way the mist should be.
So I'm actually all for this due to the fact that it's going to make the game more optimized. It's going to make it easier for PCs and console players to be able to play the game, and I'm actually all for this. So I'm completely down for this. Now, moving on to the next part of the dev stream. This is actually a really big and important part besides the new chapter that's coming out that I talked about earlier. This is basically new game modes. New game modes will be coming to Dead by Daylight. Oh yeah, you heard it here. I will repeat. New game modes will be coming to Dead by Daylight. Let's listen in.
So, right now we are working, and I'm probably giving too much info, it doesn't matter, I like to do that, but we're working on different like timed events and special modes and things like that to shake things up a little bit. And one of the things is to have it so that, you know, for a certain amount of time you'd be able to get into the game with specific set of rules that are different from the regular. Perkless is probably one of the simpler ones and really cool ones that we could do. There are others, things with timers, with alternate goals, insta kills, whatever. There's a bunch of different things we could do to make it like even to the extreme of like 2 killers in the map or something, where we could have, you know, alternate modes. And this is something that we're hoping to get this year, in the next coming year. So perkless modes could very well happen, yes. It's from someone called Quebec with K's. So.
Oh yes, baby! We are getting new game modes. Now, they're not doing it in a way where you can click an option and go to that new game mode, such as Kill Your Friends or Survive with Friends or just Survivor in general. It's not going to be like that. It's actually going to be where it's going to be a certain timed event, and you can log in, and you can actually go and play in that time event. Now, this is really smart to do it like this, because it doesn't split the community up, which is really good, because the main concern was making a new game mode will split everyone, and you won't be able to get games, or you would get games really slow. And this is really bad because you would have less people playing a game because you'll mostly just be sitting around waiting to get a game. Now this is awesome because we can have two killers versus 6 survivors, or no perks, or no UI, and that's really awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. And now this next part of the dev stream is just basically where they took killer suggestions or killer ideas from everyone, and then they put them into a jar or container, they mixed it up, and then they randomly pulled them out. It was kind of like a raffle, and they talked about mainly their feelings on the new killers that people have suggested. Now, I'm not really going to go over this part a whole lot due to the fact it was pretty long. And if you really want to see this, I do have a link down in the description of the dev stream. Just go and click that, like always, to go check it out if you really want to hear their thoughts on all these killer ideas. There were some pretty cool ones. There was like an Indiana Jones one. There was a Scorpion one. There was what was it called? A flamethrower guy one. A bunch of cool suggestions. They even brought up Pyramid Head, which I suggested in the video a while ago, and I'm pretty sure others have. And they didn't bring up Slenderman, though. Still waiting to hear about that. And on that note, that is going to be it for the news today. Now, I want you guys to go down in the comments below and tell me, what do you guys think about all of this new stuff that's coming out? Are you excited about the new chapter? Are you not? Are you happy about those 2 new perks for Survivor and Killer? I really, really want to know your guys' opinions, so please do leave them down in the comments below, because I do read them, and I love hearing what you guys have to say. I can't wait to hear all your guys' thoughts and opinions on all this. But anyways, later tonight at 10 o'clock news. Are the killers servants or slaves of the entity? Find out soon.
If crows are servants of the entity, what would you call killers? Slaves? That's a very good question. I like that kind of question. I would call them servants too. I might be wrong, but yeah. I would call them servants of the entity in this sense.
Like a guest, maybe?
They're not guests. Some of them are not particularly happy to be there.
No, I suppose that's not the case.
Yeah, and it's not a choice.